It's what some say is as close as it gets to a perfect murder. Back in 1984, a woman was found brutally beaten on the side of a county road near Westby. To this day, 29 years later, she still remains a Jane Doe. But News 8's Pauline Lee joins us now with a new tip investigators are working on that could be the one needed to catch her killer.
Well, in Vernon County, murders just don't happen. In fact, the homicide rate is virtually non-existent. But whoever killed Jane Doe went to great lengths to hide her identity, which has worked up until now. But it might just take a little more patience until her real identity is revealed. It's a case that has troubled the Vernon County Sheriff's Department for nearly 30 years.
I'm just surprised that someone out there doesn't know who she is.
On the night of May 4th, 1984, 3 teenagers found a woman's body off Old Line Road near Westby. She was brutally beaten and her hands were cut off.
It was the talk of the town or talk of the county for quite a while, and people had the same comments, wondering who she is, where she's from.
Since then, investigators have been trying to figure out who this Jane Doe is.
I think it's one of those things that you never give up on.
Last year, investigators took a second look at her case. They sent her clothing, shoes, and dentures to the state crime lab to be re-examined. Retired Vernon County Deputy Sheriff Jim Hansen responded to the call the night Jane Doe was found. He was hoping a second look would shed new light on the case.
It is a bit of a sigh of relief to say, okay, we got it to that point. Now, public, help us out.
Investigators also set up a Facebook page for Jane Doe. About half a dozen tips came in, but last September, Spears received a tip out of Portage County, Wisconsin, that caught his eye. 3 people were being investigated for cashing fraudulent Social Security checks for a woman who was missing.
And apparently it looks like her family had been cashing those checks for some years. That intrigued us because the dates were similar to our Jane Doe.
But that wasn't all. One of the 3 being investigated, Dolores Disher, resembled someone familiar.
My heart skipped a beat thinking, oh my gosh, the one daughter, the picture to me seemed remarkably similar to our Jane Doe.
Investigators still don't know if Disher is Jane Doe's daughter or someone related to her, but there's only one way to find out.
DNA will be the way to go. Obviously, DNA from the living relatives, comparing it to the DNA from Jane Doe should rule it out or confirm it. So that's what we're waiting on.
Now, investigators are still waiting on the DNA results to come back to see if these 2 women are related or if it's just a tip they need to rule out. In the meantime, they still need the public's help. This is the most updated information we have on Jane Doe. Investigators say Jane was in her 50s to mid-60s when she was found. She had brownish gray colored hair with blue eyes. She was about 5.5 feet tall and weighed around 150 pounds.
All right, thanks a lot, Pauline. Now, if you have any tips or information on the case, you can call the Vernon County Sheriff's Department at this number, 608-637-2123.